Nathan, how you doing, man?
Oh, doing well. How are you?
Doing okay. Looks like we're live for the first ever Playwire LinkedIn Live.
I love it.
Momentous occasion, first ever. Hopefully not the last. Let's see how we do today. I think we'll do all right.
I think we will.
So listen, Nathan. Before we get started, you lead the data practice here at Playwire. In just like a quick couple of sentences, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I lead our data initiatives at Playwire. I've been at Playwire for a while, over 15 years. So at this point, I've seen kind of ad operations, partner success, other departments. And really, we were able to see what advertisers need in terms of data to have successful campaigns. And so over the years, we always thought it would be great to have a standalone data practice, not just as an add-on if you buy media on Playwire inventory. And that's essentially what we did, really fresh off the press. At some point around summer-ish last year, we launched our standalone data, and now you can use all the great data that we've used for targeting on Playwire off of Playwire on any channel you'd like, social media, connected TV, whatever it may be. And that's what we're here to talk about with a focus on real estate, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was going to say that. So we've been collecting first-party data from hundreds, if not thousands, of publishers for a very long time.
Yep.
One of the biggest and most important data sets that we have is real estate data. And it's a limitless potential that it holds for myriad advertisers, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about that. First of all, we know it's an important data set. We know there's a lot of intent behind this data. But let's talk about data source and quality. There's lots of third-party data in market, but where is it from? How is it sourced? And really what makes Playwire's data different?
Yeah, that's actually a really important topic to kind of hit on. There is so much third-party data being sold in market. Everyone seems to have data from somewhere and selling some kind of data. But really, if you look under the hood, where is it really from? And there's only so many places that such data can even be generated, right? So a lot of players in market, they buy some kind of data sets. If you're lucky, do anything with it and then resell it. Or often it's just reselling old data or the same data that everyone else has. Playwire, a couple of things are really unique. One, we have our exclusive publisher base that you mentioned, right? So everything we sell data-wise to 100% is from those exclusive publishers. We do not buy any additional third-party data. We do not model data. It is from actual users coming to our properties, and we obviously observing those behaviors and getting kind of interest-based segments, intent-based segments, and whatnot. Coming to the real estate side, and probably speak about that a little later, but we have some really premier partners here, and we like to call them partners, right? Because we're here to help publishers make money, and so they can effectively run their business, and that includes monetizing their placements on the actual property for ads, but also their data assets. Mm-hmm. And on the real estate side, we work with Redfin.com as well as Rent.com and some other properties. So we have really, really good real estate data right from the source. And the other thing I would add here, not only do we have those exclusive publisher relationships, but we have built extremely advanced technology over the last 15 plus years, including our own DMP. So instead of relying on outside DMPs, on third-party services, we built our own. We made it fit into our stack, and we are directly on page with every single publisher, which allows really the most direct form of data collection versus anyone else in market.
Yeah, great. I mean, right from the source, I think is the headline there.
Right.
And I'm going to date myself, but it reminds me in the old days when you would dub a tape, and every time you dubbed it, the quality of the tape got worse and worse.
Exactly.
But that cassette right out of the wrapper was great. So I think that's how I think about it. So
I had some good mixtapes too. So yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we're talking about data, but I think the biggest thing on everyone's mind is the deprecation of the third-party cookie. And, this data, what is Playwire doing to future-proof our services, right? How is that going to affect what we're doing with this real estate data?
Yeah, a couple of really good topic to hit on. Obviously, it's a buzzword going on. Cookie deprecation. Is it going to happen tomorrow, in a year, end of Q4? Who knows at this point? But I think we actually welcome that development, as many others, right? There's been too much kind of flagrant use of data remarketed without proper purposes and such. So I think it's actually a good thing. But an interesting fact there for Playwire is that we actually developed our DMP from the ground up to be cookieless. So that's how we actually started out. We observed contextual signals and a whole bunch of other things that I'll get into later. So we built it first really non-cookie based. We added cookies later on because why not, while still in market, right? So we can work with first party and third party cookies, but we also support hashed emails, we support alternative IDs, and we have a whole host of other integrations that I'll kind of elaborate afterwards. But going back to our publishers, and I think this was important, the majority of users that are actually on real estate websites are actually logged in. So we have a substantial amount of users that are authenticated. It can vary by time frame or time of the month or things like that. But really just on a couple of our properties, 40-50%, if not higher, authenticated. So especially with our real estate data, we feel extremely confident that the cookie is not even that relevant for us at this point. Again, with all the other things we're doing as well. So I think we're really, really good positioned here. And then we have some of the other integrations like Google Pair, one of the few publishers that run that with Google's authenticated solution. We are experimenting with Poppy. We have LiveRamp ATS Direct for use of data on IOs through clean rooms. We have the alternative ID partners that we work with, Trade Desk UID, ID5 and such, and obviously contextual as well. So feel pretty good here about the cookie apocalypse.
Yeah, it sounds like we're well prepared. And when you think about why so many users are logged in, they're at some point in the home buying journey, right? They're in the process of researching a new neighborhood they might want to live in the process of purchasing a home, so they want to be authenticated, or they purchased a home and they want to get those pictures down so nobody sees what their home looks like before
Right.
they fix it up. But that brings me to the next question, which is, who needs this data from an advertising perspective, right? Where
Yep.
does this data add value for a marketer?
Yeah, I think that's such a great topic because, of course, real estate data, the first thing comes to mind are kind of the endemic advertisers that are really right at the core of real estate. Real estate could be
Mhm.
home builders, apartment complex owners, brokers, landlords, uh, you know, um, anything like that, communities, things of that nature. But there are so many applications for real estate data that are just extremely interesting, right? Where uh, you have, depending on where the journey of the user is at, right? If you're in the process, if you just purchased a home and you're about to move, you're going to need a variety of services like new internet, new insurance, things like that. Where so it kind of branches out of that core real estate into other verticals, telco, insurance, like I mentioned. But then also things like any services in your house, right? Furniture, lamp fixtures, paint, could go on and on and on. And then lastly, uh, just being a homeowner, right? And having data on the length of the home, length of the ownership, the type of property that is owned, et cetera, et cetera. That gives some really, really good demographic information.
Mhm.
Where is the home? What type is it? That can lead to like political affinity or what kind of automotive interests you might have if you're in the suburb versus city versus somewhere else. So the host of brands that can be useful here,
Mhm.
as well as obviously really hyper localized services, right? You might have a in your own town a cleaning service or the one that does the gutters or things like that.
Mhm. It's interesting when I think about real estate data and the real estate environment. I think about, people definitely think deeper funnel, right? They're thinking about somebody in the transaction process. They need a mover, they need a decorator. But when I think about this world, you have people that have not only a new house on the mind, but they have home on the mind. And I
Yep.
think about myself and my wife, and we're constantly on Redfin. We're constantly looking at homes. We're not
Mhm.
in the market for a new house right now. Don't tell my wife. But we are constantly thinking about home, our current home, our neighbors' homes,
Yeah,
homes in the area, right? And when you
exactly.
have that kind of leaned in environment, that kind of consumer, they're thinking about all of the things, the cluster of things that come along with owning a home. You mentioned a couple of them, but you buy a new home, you need a new car. You buy a new home, you're going to need a new TV, right? So to me, there is definitely a huge upper funnel component of
Yep.
this audience, this leaned in audience, this qualified audience, as they're engaging with this information. and just thinking about their home. It's in some ways it is certainly deep funnel, but in some ways it is akin to something like a Pinterest or a house, right, where people are thinking about, or even an Instagram in some cases. And the best thing is we can use this data to target people on Instagram. Is that right? No.
Yes, we can on any social media platform and anywhere you like.
That's amazing. So, you know, what is the current state of real estate data in market? Is it differentiated? Are there strong sources of data?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, we have a great experience with data at Playwire, and once we kind of got our premier partners like Redfin on board, we really started to pay attention to the real estate data and market. And one of the things that I found interesting early on is that a lot of the data is just really not very differentiated. You might have audience segments available for purchase that are something like interested in real estate. So I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Are you a broker, you buyer, you're seller, you're a landlord? It was too undifferentiated. So I think it's really key to kind of you have to have those high level ones, but you need to be able to dive deeper
Mhm.
while obviously still kind of maintaining scale. And that's, I think, what we've really worked hard at with our partners to be able to do that, right? To go for high level, bigger audiences, but then also scale them down because typically that's what an advertiser is going to be looking for. Not like, are you interested in real estate, but are you a home buyer or are you
Mhm.
renter or things like that?
Yeah, exactly. Do you own a home in a neighborhood in this area? Exactly.
Exactly.
Now, from a marketer's perspective, I'm starting to see the value of the data. We've got a number of off-the-shelf segments that people can use today.
Yep.
Now, because the data is so rich, right, is so interesting, is there the ability to combine data sets and or to work with you and the team to create custom segments?
Yes, absolutely. So we have around, I would say, 50 off-the-shelf real estate segments right now available in all major platforms, available in the Library Marketplace, available by IOTA, other partners, all branded with Playwire, so you know exactly where it's from and what you're getting. And that data can be used for modeling, for analytical purpose, matching, et cetera. Or right at its core, obviously where Playwire is best is really the media activation side, either
Mhm.
on our inventory or use data on external inventory. So that's all possible. We can also work with pushing custom data sets into specific advertiser platforms just for a specific brand or agency or partner that we work with. So we're always doing that with our bigger partners. We have the off the shelf, obviously, but of course, there's always maybe something special that somebody's looking for, and
Mhm.
where we can either do what we have on our side, or they can add their data. Again, we don't really deal in third party data. Again, it's kind of our strong suit. We want to keep it first party, so we'll
Mhm.
do whatever we can on our end, and they can combine it with theirs.
Okay, great. So right now, where's the demand slash where are the most popular segments that you're seeing demand for?
Yeah, there's definitely, I'd say now that we have about, a year plus of external data sales under our belt here, we definitely have some areas that have crystallized as being very important, and obviously they seem obvious now in hindsight. So I'll start off one with kind of that the real estate journey around the mover, right? If you're a pre-mover, you're an active mover, or a post mover, that is definitely a key segment, anything around moving, right? So, because in that process, you're going to need a variety of different services, and to reach the user at the right time in that process is key, right? Because you may not want to, I don't know, well, you may not want to serve them with a moving company ad after they already moved, or the insurance when they're already in the house, or vice versa. So that when you do that is very important. So moving, I'd say, or movers as broad. And then, home buyers versus sellers. I mean, that's important. That's a totally different clientele, totally different audience to reach. So you want to know who you're talking to. And then when we're looking at the home buyer, or I'm gonna put renters in there too. So if you're in market to buy a home or rent a home or condo, whatever it may be, that is important, right? Because again, if you have a renter, you're going to have way different needs than a home buyer and vice versa. So you want to distinguish those two. Um, And then I would say once you get that out of the way, okay, what kind of properties, be it to buy or to rent, are they looking at? Is it high-end luxury? Is it a family home? Is it a penthouse? Does it have a boat ramp? Does it have a pool? Like those things are important to know to kind of tailor your message. And then I would say, obviously in market for mortgages, that's a big one too. The financing is important. And last but not least, and we touched about that earlier, just all the demographic information that comes around with that, right? So again, depending on the type of house you're going to get or the mortgage you got approved for or the area you're moving to, et cetera, that's a totally different demographic and a different person to reach.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting. Even when we just talk about renters versus buyers and owners, it's a hot topic in America right
Yeah.
now, and the renters tend to
Yes.
be younger. Not always, but renters tend to be a little bit younger or older. They've moved out, so there's
Yeah.
very different needs, right? I think
Yeah.
the one thing that's constant in this mindset is paint. Everyone wants a fresh coat of paint when they buy a house
That's
or
great.
rent a new place. Um, Real estate's a local business, so how does that affect audience segmentation?
Yeah, I think that's also a really key factor, right? And I think that's where real estate can differ a little bit from other, I would say, localized targeting, right? Because typically when we think of localized target, it might be, okay, you're in this zip code. I'm gonna serve you this ad because this shop is around your corner. However, real estate kind of has two dimensions here. You may live in your city right now, but you're actually trying to move into a different city, right? So knowing the difference of where the user is versus where they're planning to go in the moving process is very important, because why advertise something local to someone that is then going to move 500 miles away, right? It
Mhm.
would basically defeat the purpose. So knowing that where you're looking versus where you are is very important. And then obviously being able to get kind of granular, because a lot of the services are local, right? You wouldn't want to get someone that might be able to paint your house that is 1,000 miles away. It's not going to be good business.
No, the $90 an hour of transportation
Yeah,
time
right.
makes a lot of sense. Um,
Exactly.
so, to a topic that's near and dear to my heart is, to me, obviously, this data is incredibly powerful, and it can be combined with new data sets to create, these layers. Like someone who likes movies who just bought a new home might be interested in a new TV, right? So there's
Yep.
just incredible things you can do with the data.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit about the difference in your mind from, using this data to activate programmatically at scale, decoupling it from media buy, activating on a real estate site. Speak to me about those two different things.
Yeah, that's a really good topic. I mean, I think, and I think probably everyone would agree, the contextual nature is very, very important, right? The environment that you're in. So, advertising on a real estate website with proper data overlaid is extremely powerful, right? So, not only do we know let's say you're on redfin.com, that means, okay, you're looking at either a home or a rental or whatever it may be, right? We can then narrow that down depending on what property you're looking at. Is it a rental? Is it this? And your obviously your history and the audience segment information we have. And we can then, really have hyper relevant, contextually relevant ads on that property. And of course, they are very premium property, right? They're clean. There's no brand safety issues. This is a great place to be for advertisers.
Mhm.
The con is obviously that due to the nature of the site itself, right? You're there to look at listings, to scroll through, to see what the house is made up, etc. That doesn't allow, every format there is, right? So maybe there's no video, there can't be anything interactive or kind of custom ad units, things like that you may or may not be able to do on such a property. But if you take the data, then on the other side, in terms of formats and environments, it's almost like limitless, right? Because we can then say we know all this home information, your real estate intent from the actual properties, but now you can use it on social media, on Instagram, while you're watching a TikTok video, or maybe we'll serve you an in-game ad as you're playing an ad, right? To really kind of complete that journey, right? Or what you and I like to work on together is really that full circle where we can serve users great ads, relevant ads on the property itself, and then continue the messaging as you move through the online advertising ecosystem, to really like benefit the user, but really the advertiser at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's where I see a ton of the value, right? Is reaching them within the real estate environments with targeted messaging, but then reaching them with high impact placements, and
Right.
other passion points, other subcultures that they're into. And I think about myself, I love games and I love movies. And when we bought a new home, I needed a new TV. And then shortly after, because I installed it incorrectly, I needed a handyman to install it correctly. And then I need another new TV too, Nathan. So
There
a
you
story
go. And
for
then
another
you
time.
built out the game room and the man cave and so forth.
Well, still, it's lower priorities for this family.
There
But
you go.
well, listen, this has been incredibly valuable. Thank you for this. I think, in summary, this real estate data that we are sitting on top of here at Playwire, this first party data, is incredibly valuable for a host of reasons. Number one. Number two, it comes from the source, right?
Yep.
So there's a high level of transparency of what you're getting, how it works. And it sounds like we're continually updating it, right? Because an in-market home buyer 6 months from now isn't an in-market home buyer anymore. So we are constantly refreshing this data, making sure that's fresh for our buyers.
Absolutely.
So that's safe to say?
That's exactly right. And, like I said, it's available everywhere, every platform, every DSP. Use it on social media, on connected TV, on in-app, or come to Playwire for a media buy on Playwire, and we'll be happy to help you out.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Nathan. Great conversation today. To everyone listening or watching out there, this is the first of many LinkedIn Lives here at Playwire. Today it's me and Nathan talking about data, but we're going to be bringing industry advocates, industry experts from the ad tech world, advertising agency world. So if you are watching and want to be part of one of these lives, please let us know. We'd love to have you and your expertise. And if you're watching and you enjoyed it, make sure to tune in next time, because we'll probably be talking about something of interest to you. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great day, everybody.